It's been to war, around the world a couple of times, and it's been on the conscience of a Taranaki farmer ever since his mother bequeathed it to him. It's a plain, brown and battered diary brought home in the pocket of a war-weary Kiwi soldier in 1943. Who owned it? Solving that mystery has proved harder and more astonishing than anyone could have imagined. Janet McIntyre reports.
For decades, it sat in a cupboard, in a box, on a farm in Taranaki, but far, far away from where it belongs.
I sort of knew it was there, but it was nothing. It was never spoken about. You know, I mean, it was just something that was there. Dad had picked up in the desert and it was in the box, and that was it. You know.
When Ron Miller's father, Joseph, returned from war in 1943, almost 70 years ago, he brought back not just unspeakable memories.
Well, he never actually said a lot. He was very quiet about the war. He never ever talked about it much.
But a little diary dated 1941, filled with Italian, the owner's name barely legible.
Just before Mum died, she handed it over to us and just said that that was found in a plane in the desert.
Not much to go on, just a handwritten snippet from Ron's mum. This diary, found from Italian plane, shot down in desert.
What did you assume from that?
Well, I assumed that he would be. He was a pilot. He was dead.
What did your mother tell you about it?
She said that Dad had always said that he'd love to have given it back to the family one day, but he never got around to it. And so we thought, well, we'd have a crack at it.
Ron and Shirley Miller, classic hard-working farmers who've never left the Naki, could never have imagined where the little diary would lead them and how it would take over their lives.
Never seen him so stressed. And he doesn't say much, and yeah, no, it has affected us.
(1941). Joseph Miller, Ron's dad, a railway worker from Stratford, found himself in Egypt, part of the 2nd New Zealand Expeditionary Force confronting the forces of Germany and Italy.
Our New Zealand artillery is outgunning these guns.
Joseph never spoke about the war, but the force of the little diary he found captured 3 generations. Joseph, his son Ron, and his son David.
This is Granddad here, actually.
As a little boy, were you proud of him?
Oh, very. Yeah. Most little boys, the granddads are the heroes if they're a soldier. So, yeah, he was actually.
David, who's done the research, says his granddad, an engineer with the 10th Railway Construction Company, spent 3 years laying tracks to get supplies and ammunition to the front line.
New Zealanders are running these trains, and New Zealanders are making the tracks they run along.
The Germans just continually bombed them, blew up the trains, blew up the lines, and then they had to go try and remove all this stuff, redo it, and the next day the same thing would happen. He didn't like being there, and I'd say a lot of them didn't like being there. They were constantly in sandstorms, constantly being bombed, shot at. He got ill at one part and had to go to Cairo, to hospital for a couple of weeks, then discharged, straight back into it again.
It was a volatile, seesawing campaign in Northern Africa. New Zealand at war with Italy, thousands of lives lost on both sides. But in a moment of kindness, a thought for his fellow man, Corporal Joseph Miller picked up a lost diary. It was that of an enemy serviceman and held the memories of a year on the front line. Why do you think your granddad picked it up?
Because I think if he dropped his diary, it would have been, he would have hoped somebody would have found it and one day returned it. Probably not 70 years later, like us, but it was a good deed done by him, just picking it up at that stage. Thought, well, this belongs to somebody. Maybe one day I'll be able to get it back to them.
After Joseph died 22 years ago, the responsibility fell to his family, and the burden of the displaced diary weighed on them.
We want to get it back.
It wasn't ours, and it would be important for the family.
They tried giving it to the Italian embassy in Wellington.
Any addresses or names that they could find, and they had it for about 3 months.
And then what happened?
Well, they didn't find anything.
Shirley tucked it into the suitcase of a golf buddy going on holiday to Italy.
Why did you do that?
Well, I don't know, actually. When I now look at Italy and how big it is, I think, God, what was I expecting her to do? But I thought she might go to a museum or something while she's over there, or just meet somebody where she was staying that might be able to read something for us.
But the friend's father suddenly died.
So did she have any luck at all?
No, I don't even think she had the chance to take it out of a suitcase, so it came back again.
To begin our commemorative service on this 96th anniversary of Anzac Day.
Anzac Day this year prompted one last effort.
Once again, at golf, I just was in desperation and I said, does anybody know anybody who can speak Italian or read Italian?
Buonasera.
And Edith Daughtery, born in Italy, now living in New Plymouth, working as a language teacher, volunteered.
Well, I was a little bit intrigued.
Edith identified the owner of the diary as one Tony Alberto.
Well, that was the signature. That's all I could read of his handwriting.
He was not, as the Millers had thought, an Italian pilot shot down and killed, but a young gunner who survived being shot at by the Allies on his birthday, December 13, in 1941. This is the first time his words have been read in 70 years.
I have taken a gunshot. I really don't know or understand the real miracle. I was covered with rock and stones, but without even a little scratch. I repeat, it was a miracle.
Another miracle was to occur 70 years later. Tony Alberto lived to complete his 1941 diary, but what happened to him after that? A mystery. Somewhere, sometime during the next year, after Italy was forced to surrender to the Allies and Tony Alberto was taken prisoner, he dropped the diary, and New Zealander Joseph Miller picked it up.
He couldn't read it because it was written in Italian, didn't really know what to do with it really, so he just put it in his kit and he brought it home at the end of the war.
And now, 7 decades on, Edith has been trying to solve the mystery of what happened to its author. On Facebook, on the phone, on Italian websites. She's ploughed through a list of Italians killed in the war, 49,000 names.
For goodness sake, I have to go through the whole file. I looked there and he wasn't there, his name wasn't there.
Then she received an anonymous email and the name of a small town in northern Italy, Bagnacavallo.
They said, well, some of his family are still alive. Then I knew I was very close. Che si chiama Tony Alberto.
Finally, in May, a late-night phone call to a young man in Bagnacavallo with the same surname, and the news no one expected.
And then he said, it's my granddad. And then I said, really? Then he said, it's my granddad and he's still alive. Really? I can't believe this, he's still alive. So I just was jumping up and down on the telephone. I was really excited. And I think he was excited as well.
Now, is there any doubt at all that this Tony Alberto is the same Tony Alberto who owned the diary?
And there is no doubt at all.
Tony Alberto, now 96, alive, well, and living in Bagnacavallo.
To find him out that he was still alive was the biggest shock we could have got, you know.
Now the pressure's on to get the diary back to him.
I haven't seen him so stressed, he really has. Yeah. He's just worried that the old fella might die.
What's he like when he's stressed?
He sits there and stares into space.
Oh, come on.
You did. Yeah, he doesn't say much, and yeah, no, it has affected us.
Have you visualised the moment when the diary gets handed back?
Yeah, and then it's out of my hair.
Good on them. Plans are underway for the Millers to return the diary to 96-year-old Signor Alberto. And of course, we will be following this story through.